afternoon or evening's work session. First order of business will be conducting a roll call. Commissioner Gail Hambrick.
Here.
Commissioner Sana Gregory.
Here.
Commissioner Felicia Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner DeMont Davis. All right, this time show Commissioner Davis not present. And the next item will be a discussion on any preliminary items for the next BLC meeting. Would the commissioners like to discuss any of the items? All right, we'll move straight into our work session discussion items. First up is the update on the Flint River Community Center. Mr. Hopkins.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, Board. Flint River Community Center, I was on site today. We are open to the staff. They are moving in, and we will begin some programming next week on the 1st. I had that conversation with Director Strutter Tanks. There will continue to be some punch list and warranty items being addressed over the next several weeks and potentially months, but the facility is ready to go for the public.
Any questions? Questions?
Okay, when did the facility open? Thank you for the update. When did the facility open?
Staff began moving in last week, Monday.
Last week, Monday?
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
also, has everything been completed on that list as we discussed earlier, including the fence that was requested back in July of 2020?
The fence is not complete. The fence is out for an intent to bid through Central Services. My understanding is that that will take a little bit of time, and I don't have that exact timeline for you in terms of when it will be built. The ITB should take about 8 to 12 weeks on the long end. Once that's complete and we have a vendor of record, it'll take a couple of weeks to get the fence in.
Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, because as I stated, and I sent Mr. Chairman an email. I'd originally, and maybe this is not a question for you, Ben, but I'd originally requested at the onset of the development of this facility that our law enforcement was included for to make sure that the safety concerns were addressed. And so after realizing that that did not take place as I had requested, both in writing and verbally and followed up on, I ended up setting up a meeting back in July of 2020. And at that time is when we decided, it was decided with everyone in place, considering, it was actually the police chief, the DA, the Solicitor General, and all involved. So they decided to, get rid of the some things and then add some additional things. And that was decided at that time. And I made that request at that time. So what I'm trying to understand is, considering we took some things away from this project, why would the fence be taking this long? Because I'm getting a lot of complaints from some of the residents because you got a building that's sitting there, but of course it's not being utilized, even though now folks are moving in, but that fence isn't up. So can you provide information as to why this timeline has been extended? And again, this is what the citizens are concerned about.
Absolutely, Commissioner. I can speak to, I know that Atlas, Dana Smith, I believe, was the Atlas employee that was with you all in that meeting. Buildings and maintenance, from my understanding, was not represented, but there was a site visit done and there was some preliminary work done on a scope of work with Atlas. We've built from that scope of work, but several items were missing, including a grounding ring and some other code required components to ensure that the bidded project is going to be comprehensive and wouldn't have change orders moving forward. For context, planning, design, and construction, which is the division that I oversee, began January 1st, so that was 2 months ago. And we've been quickly trying to move forward with all the projects. I'm going to speak about that here in a few minutes. But to your point about the fence, I can't speak to the delay from Atlas on the front end last year. I can tell you that we are moving very quickly trying to get it completed.
Okay, I'm clear. But, and I understand you're representing Atlas, but the thing is, the construction company is still involved. So I hear you on the project managers, but we still have that construction company involved. This was part of the project and the request was made back in July. So even though I received and hear your response, I will just state that it's still unclear to me why something that was requested initially at the time this building was being built almost 4 years ago. And then again, I had to go back to get it done in July of 2020. That now you all are telling me that this fence is going to be done until possibly July of this year. But I will receive your statement, and I've already sent Mr. Chairman the concerns from the community. So thank you for that response.
Yeah, let me,
I have another question.
go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, another question, Ms. Strotter, I have, if maybe you could answer this one. Is there anything that needs to be shored up to make sure that we get to the finish line with all involved? And that is from Boys and Girls Club to the Senior Services Center. Is there anything that, that needs to be shored up at this point?
Well, we have been working closely with Ben and Jason to make sure that everything is ready for Monday. And so far, everything is looking on schedule. Everyone has been doing a great job of just trying to make sure things are together. There are just a few little outstanding things, but nothing that's going to prohibit us from opening the building on Monday to the public.
Okay, thank you so very much. And the only thing I ask is that we have clear communication. Again, there was a meeting some time ago, and I don't know if it was at the direction of operations, but thank you for this information you're sharing today, but we really need this information to be accurate. And even in the updates, when we get the SPLOST updates, it doesn't quite marry oftentimes what's really being done visibly at these facilities. And that's kind of out of your wheelhouse, as Tori, so it's okay. But thank you so very much.
I do have a presentation since it was about the update of Flint River, also the programming standards and the components. So I do have a small presentation just to catch you up to speed and inform you guys of what's going to take place in the center moving forward, and then after the conditions with COVID gets better.
Awesome.
And let me just,
thank you.
and let me just add this, Commissioner Franklin, that whether the fence has been erected or not is not going to slow up the operations or the opening of the facility. None of our other facilities have fences, but because of your security folks that did the assessment, that's why we're moving forward with it. But the fence, whether or not it's in place or not, will not hinder the operations programs or the opening of the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that. And I hear you, but the facility is there to serve all of the community. And even though the facility is open, it's very important that the community feels comfortable with what's in the area, and then also know that we've taken all precautions. And again, I'm just here as a public servant to make sure that we address all concerns. And that's why that fence has been added there. We have a young lady, particularly, that's concerned about people that are constantly cutting through her yard. And again, we're making sure that that's taken care of. And that request didn't come from me, only it came from our LEAs that are our law enforcement folks. So thank you so very much. Thank you. I look forward to your presentation, Ms. Tori.
Any other questions in reference to Flint River? All right, Ben, you got it. What's that?
Yeah, she's gonna do it now.
Oh, she's doing it now. Go ahead.
So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is, I think, one of the most exciting parts of my job as a director, is to talk to you about something that's very important to the community, and that's the programming standards and how we're going to open up the facility and what we're actually going to be doing when the facility opens. So the pictures before you are, well, you can go to the next slide. So Courtney Johnson is the manager of the Flint River Community Center, and she's doing a phenomenal job with making sure that the center has everything that it needs, and that the communication between buildings and maintenance, IT, and senior services is in place. And then she's also doing a great job working with the executive director, Miss Amelia Davis. She is the executive director on the Boys and Girls Club side. So as you know, this facility is very unique. It has a lot of moving parts. It has a Boys and Girls Club, it has a black box theater, and then of course, it has regular programming for the community. So the hours of operations are going to be comparable to Parks and Recreation. The center is going to be open from 8 o'clock a.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. The Boys and Girls Club will be open from 8 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. right now, only because of COVID. Okay, so starting Monday, March 1st, from 9 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m., we will be doing tours, and this is so the community can get acclimated with the facility, learn about all of the amenities. These tours will be by appointments only, and we will be following the CDC guidelines, and masks are required. Temperatures will be taken prior to entering the facility. So here is our membership packet. The membership is a combination of Parks and Recreation membership fees and senior services. So it is kind of like a hybrid. So we have our yearly memberships, we have monthly passes, and we have daily passes. And the software that we're going to be using is called My Senior Center. Even though it says My Senior Center, it is user-friendly to all populations. And so this just kind of gives you an idea of what the membership fees are. If you're familiar with Parks and Rec membership fees, then these are the exact same fees. So one of the things in senior services, I know you come to our senior centers and you see all of these programs and you think, oh, this is a lot of fun, but there is a science behind how we do our programs in our senior centers. We have programming standards, and they're in 4 components. There's arts, culture, education, health and wellness, and socialization. So our staff has to make sure that they're programming under these components. We have different types of programs. We have staff-directed programs. We have drop-in, special events, day trips, classes, and outreach programs. So what we call our Bible at each center has a minimum program requirements that they're supposed to program the center according to these requirements. Flint River is so unique and it has a lot of different moving parts. We're actually programming in about 6 different areas. So we're going to be doing programs for youth ages 5 to 12, teens ages 13 to 18, adults 19 to 55, and then we're going to be doing senior programs which will be modeled exactly after our senior centers, and this is for adults 55 and older. We're also going to be doing intergenerational programs, and a lot of people this is a misnomer about intergenerational programs. They think just because you have different generations inside a facility that it's intergenerational. It's not. An intergenerational program is where you have 2 different generations programming and doing activities together. Let's say like if you had seniors inside the facility playing bingo and then you had youth inside the facility playing basketball, most people would think that would be an intergenerational program, but it's not. An intergenerational program is where we may have seniors doing something, let's say like sewing. That's something that's going away. So we will have a senior actually teaching a youth how to sew or to do quilt. So it's where one generation is actually learning something from another generation. So we will have intergenerational programs inside the facility, and then we'll also have family programs. And these are programs that are designed for the entire family to come together and recreate together. So this is where the work starts in our senior centers and our intergenerational centers. I know you can't read that and it looks like a whole bunch of gibberish because it's so small, but what this is saying that each center has a minimum amount of programs that they have to provide at the center. So an example, they have to have a minimum of 32 educational programs, a minimum of at least 32 art programs. The art programs aren't just arts and crafts. It could be dancing, it could be spoken word. It's just a combination of different art programs. And then there's the cultural programs, and then there's health and fitness. And then of course, when you get down to the bottom, there's outreach programs, and this is because our accreditation, and we are going to try to have Flint River Community Center accredited by NISC because it does qualify as a senior center. We have to do outreach programs, and that's where our staff takes our programming model and put them in the community outside of Flint River Community Center. And then one other component that we require in our senior centers and our intergenerational centers is that you have an input focus group. One of the things that makes our senior centers so popular is because we actually listen to what our seniors want to do. So Flint River will have an input focus group that's not only for seniors, but it will be for the community as well. And the manager and the programming staff will meet with them quarterly. Also, one of the things that I do as a director, I meet with each center on a quarterly basis with the community, and I call it a Let's Talk, and I answer any of their questions that they may have as it relates to administration or any programming questions or concerns they may have. And so this just furthers on, and it tells you about there's a minimum requirement of classes, groups and community partnerships. Okay, so starting March 1st, Flint River is going to have a combination of virtual and limited in-person programs and classes. As you can see, there will be Zoom classes, limited in-person classes, and this will be a combination to cover all of those groups that I mentioned in the presentation earlier. And all of those classes, too, will be by appointment as well. They will have to call in and schedule an appointment. So to talk about the Boys and Girls programming component, so on March 1st, the Boys and Girls Club will do there will be a distance learning provider. They're going to have 24 students. They'll be there between 8 and 4, and the Boys and Girls Club is going to help them with their virtual online schooling that they're doing. So they will be in groups with a ratio of 1 to 8, it should be 8 children to 1 staff. And so they will be helping them do their schoolwork during the day. The Boys and Girls Club, they're also going to do a virtual component for teens that's going to cover college prep assistance, career readiness, ACT prep, and this will be in conjunction with the Flint River Community Center staff as well. So the Boys and Girls Club and the Flint River staff will also be working to provide general overall community programs. And then post-COVID, once things get better with the COVID environment, the Boys and Girls Club will do an after-school program which will consist of 75 students. They will be there Monday through Friday from 2:30 to 8 p.m. And in the summer, there will be a summer camp program for 75 students Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. And one thing that I forgot to mention about the membership, we're going to start a membership drive starting March 6th because the community is not actually registered to participate. So starting March 6th, the community will be able to come in and we will do a registration for them, and there will be no fee for the classes up until July 1st. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Awesome. Well, do I have to wait? I'm sorry. I do have a question, Mr. Chair.
I didn't hear that. You're kind of muffled, Commissioner Franklin. You're coming in muffled.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, that's
Try
better.
it again.
That's clear now.
Okay, I was waiting on you because we don't have a way to raise our hands to say we want to speak, so I just wanted to give me an opportunity to speak.
You're coming in muffled again.
Okay.
Recognize.
Well, I just wanted to tell you thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so very much for that presentation. I'm so excited about the work that you all have diligently done in planning. And I know the planning process has been a little bit drawn out, but I think that everything works to the good. So therefore, because we've had a little bit more time, I'm looking forward to it going smoothly. And I want to particularly thank you, Tori, and your staff for your enthusiasm in embracing this and working so well to be able to serve our community. And this is exciting. I also want to make sure that we thank the school system and for them and coming in, providing us the buses, as well as food. That's going to be phenomenal. And they're not just servicing one side of the house. They're going to service all sides of the house. And that came out of that meeting that we had last week, which was very productive. And then finally, I want everybody that's listening to keep in mind that citizens don't see district lines. This particular facility is going to serve an area that's going to touch folks in 3 different districts. You know, we know that we are here representing as commissioners, but this definitely is an effort that's on behalf of all of us here, everybody that's serving. And I'm excited about where we're going, and I'm excited that we finally are getting the construction complete. The only thing I will say is hoping that when your staff gets in, that within that due diligence period, that we ensure that whatever needs to be corrected or fixed is done within a timely manner. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, and I just echo those sentiments. Your staff is fantastic over there. Every time myself and the CEO went over there, they were very informed and welcoming. They seem to know what they're doing, so that's a good thing. But to the citizens, I'll be remiss if I did not acknowledge that this is your taxpayers' dollars. That's SPLOST money going to a well needed and deserved facility here in Clayton County. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, update PDC. Mr. Hopkins.
I'm back, Chairman. Well, good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Before I get into the presentation, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead a dynamic, growing, diverse facilities management department within this fantastic community. Buildings and maintenance over the past 3 years that I've been here has grown to the point of adding 2 months ago a new division. And tonight, that's what we're going to talk about, is the Planning, Design, and Construction Division within the Buildings and Maintenance Department. It's something I don't do by myself, obviously. I cannot. So the first thing I want to do is recognize our core players, and that's the next slide, please. The division is led by my extraordinary Assistant Director, Marty Fox. Marty has been a member of the Clayton County family for over 23 years. He has built it, done it, seen it. He's doing a fantastic job in his role. We brought in some quality, top-level project managers, Adam Thuman, Carol Clayton, and Todd Smiley. They're the individuals who are day-to-day on the ground, representing the county with the contractors and A&E firms, getting these buildings completed and getting us to the finish line and started on the new projects. We also have Novelette Burns-Kerr, who we actually pulled over from elections, so we kept it within the family, and she's doing a fantastic job learning as we go, making sure that we're following the proper protocols. Before I go further, I do have to recognize the other individuals who are not part of the Planning, Design, and Construction team who've also helped us along the way. Carol Rogers and the Central Services team. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Sharon Stone over on finance, but under the leadership of Dennis Johnson and Ramona Bivens. Valerie Fuller and the communications team, Jeffrey Matarco and the transportation development team, Patrick Ejekiel and community development. We're touching all areas of the county as we're continuing to grow this because we don't operate in a vacuum. And we could not do what we do without the extraordinary leadership and vision of the COO. So I want to say thank you to Dietrich Stanford for the opportunity to do this. Now, what I know you all are more focused on, worried is the wrong word, but are focused on where do we stand on the projects. So I want to get into that. There are a number of projects that we took over that are now complete. Lakes Bobby Recreation Center, it opened to the public on January 22nd after a great ribbon cutting event. We are now in the punch item and warranty phase. That goes for a year. For all of the buildings after we open, after we get substantial completion, we have a 1-year warranty period, and the inspectors in my department are going to do a 5-month and an 11-month inspection to ensure that anything that we are identifying as a major problem is being turned over to the contractor to be addressed. We're also working closely with the staff in the building as they are identifying problems as they come across them, including we met with Courtney today over in Senior Services, over in the Flint River Community Center to kind of identify some of those issues. As they're in the building, they're identifying those things. The Sector 2 Police Precinct got occupied last June. It, again, same thing as in the punch items warranty phase. That's going to go until this summer. We are staying on top of it. There are some other items within the building that we are addressing. There was some water intrusion that we've addressed and we're addressing with the contractor. The gas pump is online. EPD has given us all of our approvals for that. The Information Technology Headquarters and Training Center, it became occupied this past summer. We're doing the same thing there with punch items and warranty phase. The countywide dog parks, working directly with Director Hodges. It opened up. The one at International Park opened in September, and South Clayton Rec Center opened in October of last year. We're going to work through the warranty phases in that, make sure the water is working, winterized as appropriate, and the fences and the sod are moving quickly and getting everything moving as appropriately. We have several projects that are in that last phase, getting ready to open to the public. The Northeast Senior Center, I was just updated today that they will be in on Tuesday of next week to address some lock hardware that was preventing us from opening to the public. So as soon as that is addressed, I've already notified Director Strutter Tanks. We're going to make sure that that's ready to be open to the public as we're directed to do so. We'll continue in that phase of warranty and punch list items until November because staff got into it. We had substantial completion last year, though there was the one issue that kept us from being able to really open to the public. The Northwest Branch Library, staff occupied October of last year. I was under the impression that the issue was biblioteca. That's been resolved, but there's a programmatic platform that they are installing on that facility that is new. And my understanding is that is being worked out with Director Brookins, and in the legal department to ensure that they can get the proper programmatic elements in place to open to the public. We're working through the punch items and the warranty items, but it's a fantastic building, and I can't wait for the public to see it. Flint River Community Center, Commissioner Franklin, I was just notified that they are putting the ITB out on the 25th, so that's in 2 days, so Thursday. Programming will begin, as we said, next week, Monday. We're really excited about the public getting into that facility. It looks fantastic. On an awkward point of view, the bathrooms look great. And once you see them, you know what I'm talking about. We're working on punch items in the warranty phase. That'll complete in February of next year. Next slide. The projects that are almost there. The county records and archives, we anticipate completion of that being in the next week or so. My understanding from staff is that it's just been commissioned in the last few days for the Vesta smoke detection system. IT staff has been moving. They've got about 3,000 boxes of archived records already in the space, so that's going to continue to move forward. Part of moving the archived records is opening up spaces for other programmatic departments to be able to use space in the existing archive center. And there's a gentleman in a white shirt for police department that's excited about doing some work in that space. That's the chief of police, if anybody wanted to know. Jail security access, that's the jail side, is complete. That's our Black Creek upgrade. They are going to start working on the juvenile side. They've had some staff changes, so we're going to get back together in the next week to ensure that everybody's up to speed on where we are and where we need to go. That'll be done and complete, and they'll have better access to see and control the inmates in the space. So better security overall. The TV station remodel, the podcasting room, it's got 2 mics. We got a couple more mics coming in to ensure that the operator can have multiple guests in space. We got to add a couple of other programmatic elements because of COVID to keep people separated and safe. There'll be additional upgrades for the equipment, the cameras, and those types of things coming this year. We're working through those finalized tweaks with communications right now. So those items will be very fantastic once they're in place. I'm super excited. The correctional facility renovation and additions, these are moving along. These are not near the end at this point, unfortunately. Some of them have lasted longer than they should have. And we're on that, and we're gonna fix it. We're gonna move it forward. The correctional facility renovation and additions, we have a new contractor that we're getting ready to award that to. Once that award is done, we'll get a notice to proceed, and we'll have them complete the project. And I'm sure the warden is going to be really excited about that. The International Park and Nassau building replacement. The International Park itself is coming along fantastically. It is going to be a wonderful facility. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second longest lazy river in the state of Georgia in that facility. So being open to the public is going to be a feather in our hat. The Nassau building that is next to the facility is going to house the restrooms and the showers. And unfortunately, due to COVID, there's been a supply shortage of steel. So that building itself is not going to be complete this summer. It's looking like it may be complete September or so. We're working through programmatic elements to see what makes sense. If it does make sense, it will present to the board at a later date those recommendations on potentially being able to open a different way. But once it is open, it is going to be a marquee, fantastic operation. The VIP complex renovation, it is moving forward on time and on schedule. We should have that open by the end of June this year. Next slide. There are some projects that we're just in the beginning phase of. Fire Station 9 and 15, they are going to be sister stations. They're going to have the same design. Boyer Architect is updating the design because we had to move one of the facilities. We've done a review and we've identified multiple types of flooring, multiple types of fixtures and equipment in the building that didn't make sense with where we were in our current environment and where we want to go from a sustainability standpoint. So we've made those comments, and Boyer is updating the drawings, and we're ready to take that out to bid very soon. The County Fueling Center, Pond is updating their design because the government circle location we identified has poor soil, and so it was going to be prohibitive to build on site. We've identified another site, and Pond is updating the drawing so that we can get that out and get it built. The VIP complex amphitheater, we've recently received the bids. We are evaluating them, and we should have that selected in the next 2 weeks to be able to go forward with the new architecture for A&E firm, so that then we can build it after that. So it's moving along. Other projects that are just beginning, the county administration building, which is a 21 SPLOST program that was part of our bonded projects. We've received the bids for the A&E firms. We have oral presentations next week. We'll make it a selection and be able to move forward with that project. The Small Business Incubator and Trade Center, we're working with a potential developer on a potential site for design, and we're looking forward to that facility going up and being fantastic growth and programming within the community. Speaking of the 21 bonded projects, capital improvement, there's a number of projects in the 21 SPLOST that were specifically replacement and doing capital outlay of our existing facilities, which is new for buildings and maintenance. We are going to do some repairs on the roof and HVAC and flooring and electrical over at the Justice Complex. We're using existing contracted vendors to do it, so those should move forward fairly quickly. The police department headquarters is getting an HVAC upgrade. There are areas of the facility that the HVAC goes down on a regular basis, and we want to make sure that our LEOs are getting the best air quality that they can get, LEOs being law enforcement officers. Annex 3 HVAC upgrades. It's an older building. We've got to get it, the cooling tower replaced. We've got bonded funds to take care of that. We've talked to Train, and they're getting that scheduled for us now. Annex 2 HVAC upgrades. You can talk to anybody in community development or elections. They have a battle every day. And so these upgrades are going to make sure that they're going to be in a comfortable, safe environment to be able to move forward and do their great work. The Annex 2 flat roof restoration, there are leaks on the flat roof side. We replaced the shingle side on the historic courthouse several years ago. This will bring everything else to make the building watertight from rain. Steve Lundquist Aquatic Center, I'm super excited about that because that is, I believe, the last piece to making that facility watertight. Being an aquatic center, we want to keep the water inside. We did some other work through capital outlay funds over the last 3 years, so this will make that a fantastic facility that'll be for use for many, many more years. Frank Bailey Senior Center HVAC and flooring upgrades. We got to take care of our seniors, and that facility gets a lot of use, and so we're going to make sure that they have good air quality, and the flooring in the facility is cosmetically pleasing for them to see and use. Same thing's going to happen at Charlie Griswold. We've already taken care of the HVAC on that facility. I know I ran through it very quickly. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Hopkins?
Yes, this is Hambrick. Ben, I noticed you didn't have anything on there about the Virginia Gray Rec Center. What are we doing there, and how are things going? Because I know there were several problems up there.
So specifically, Commissioner, what I spoke to tonight were the bonded and SPLOST programs. What we've done at Virginia Gray is very similar to what we're doing at Carl Rodenizer, is we're using capital outlay and budget general fund dollars to address the issues as they come up. Specifically, we've had issues with the boiler, which has been replaced from an outdated boiler to a tankless water heater, which is going to help with our utility bills. And it's also going to ensure that we have instant hot water on the showers and in the sinks. We're doing some cosmetic upgrades. We did a roof project that we funded through last year's budget. It was close to $750,000, a little bit more than that, to address the roof, to address leaks in the facility. We're also looking at doing some fixes to the front office area with some flooring, and we're addressing the entrance area of the facility. Once we get all of those things, we're doing an outlay to take care of the additional issues with flooring that's outdated in the facility and some other cosmetic upgrades.
What was the work that was being done, I guess, for the last 2 months or so that had something to do with the pool, the back of the pool and all?
Yes, ma'am. So without getting too technical, the roof that was put over the pool on that building was 15 years ago the wrong material. So the Tecton plates that were installed have become shredded wheat and began to fail. So we were advised to not even walk on the roof. Initially, what we were going to do is remove the TPO, which is like a pool liner roof on top of the building, and replace it. As we evaluated and we got into it, we identified that we had to remove all the way down all of the roof over the pool area. So we've removed all of that and we addressed the leak in front of the building. That's been the major holdup. While it was down, we've also addressed in the pool area the lights, and we've been addressing the water issues and the cosmetic issues in front of the building.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think you will, oh wait, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, so I think you alluded to it earlier, but I have a question. Are we involving our police department, considering that they are tasked, and let me go back, actually, in learning and reading according to our county code and the state statute, I've learned that the sheriff is actually responsible for the overall protection of all county buildings. However, considering that we are a county that both have a sheriff's office and a police department, the police department is responsible for the safety of our citizens in the buildings. So have we included them in the planning process of all of these projects?
I'm not sure I understand you. When you're talking about the planning process, are you speaking on the build out of each facility, or are you talking
Yes,
about?
sir. Yes, sir. And this comes from what's best practices. Just as similar as we do with when we approve a project for the community that we're not building, for instance, a new subdivision, then you have a technical review committee that's there. And in that technical review committee, you have the water authority, you have all the folks that would be involved with servicing that neighborhood. So my question is, are we doing the same with these projects, in particular when it comes to safety? Or are we just expecting the police and our police officers to come and secure it, but they're not involved in the planning process to ensure that there's somebody looking from as a subject matter expert?
So the buildings are set at a certain amount. So when we built, for instance, the intergenerational center, it's built, let's say, $6-7 million. So as we construct that, once it is completed, then the law enforcement officers will come in on the back end to devise any kind of safety plan. The SWAT team usually goes through, map it out, or we provide them the floor plan of that county facility so they can come up with an action plan should something, God forbid, happen in that facility. Now, as you saw with your facility, when they came up with the fencing, that was an additional, $150,000 that was added to that facility. So although safety is first and foremost, we also got to make sure that we are operating within our budgetary restraints.
And thank you for saying that, Mr. Chairman. And I hear you clearly, and I hear your response. But even that is reactionary. I think that for me, and my, as some like to say, due diligence. When I'm researching, I'm looking at what are the best practices in areas. We want to make sure that we mitigate as many issues on the front end. Now, that fence may be something that is different, and I'm gonna be honest with you. That's because the previous person we had in there came up with this lake and a trail and all this other stuff that the community did not ask for. So we're having to deal with that on the back end, which is one of the reasons we need that fence. But there are other things that we have made adjustments to that did not cost our citizens any additional money. And those adjustments were made strictly because of the recommendation and a unified recommendation by both our police chief, our sheriff, the DA, district attorney, and the solicitor general. So we have to make sure that we're looking at everything that we do from a strategic and a holistic manner. So that's why I posed that question. And if I may add, before I finish, my experience with our buildings don't just begin as a commissioner. I've only been in office now going in the 5th year. But at the end of the day, I've been involved with our facilities for nearly 17 years. And every time that we've gone in, there's always something, that was not thought about, simply because the people that could bring those ideas to the table in the beginning were not at the table. So again, this is based upon best practices, and that's why I asked the question. And I just honestly make the recommendation, if I need to do it formally, that we do this from a holistic approach. Cameras were put up at the Flint River Center that had a lot of areas that needed to be revisited. And again, when you've got somebody that's a subject matter expert, such as our chief, such as our DA, such as our sheriff, these folks have years of experience in this arena. They can help save us money in the long run. Saving the county money is just not always in a building. We know that there are other ways that we can incur costs, and we want to make sure that we're saving money and building a quality project from a holistic and comprehensive standpoint.
And I can agree with what you're saying, Commissioner Franklin, but also let me just say that, you know, I've been working with county facilities for 23 years as law enforcement officer myself, and last 3.5 as chief of police. So I can attest firsthand that going into facilities after, and not saying that it's not best practice, I hear what you're saying about that, but even after the fact, going in, making an assessment as an officer is not too late. Whether they're on the front end or the back end, as long as there's an assessment from the LEO, I think we are still utilizing in some form or fashion of best practice. Mr. Stanford, you have something?
Yes, Chairman. Commissioner Franklin, to your question, there has not been a integration of a security plan put in place for the new facilities. I think with your leadership and our law enforcement staff that integrated themselves in the Flint River Community Center was the first. As Mr. Hopkins alluded to, a lot of our buildings that we end up building out was past the architecture and the engineering phase. But we can, moving forward, I think in our 21 bonded project, to include the admin building, even looking at the incubator and looking at some of these other vertical projects moving forward, we will ensure before we get deep into the A&E phase that we have a security plan put in place with elements from our law enforcement involved in that. So moving forward, any vertical project that we're building out will have that element in space.
So much, Dietrich.
Not a problem.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you much.
All right, let's go to presentation by the Phase 2 compensation study done by HR, Ms. Ambles.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners, Chairman, Vice Chair Commissioners, as well as our citizens that are here. I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present this information on behalf of our employees who are definitely the focus of HR. Ms. Jamie, thank you. In 2018, we had a compensation study, an in-depth compensation study completed. I thank the board for investing in that study. Best practices indicates that every 5 years, it's a good idea, every 5 to 6 years to have such an in-depth study. The goal of the 2018 compensation study was to establish a robust, modern, equitable, and legal compensation system. The study was conducted by Management Advisory Group, also known as MAG. The implementation goal was to meet Clayton County's labor market. An organization from a compensation perspective can decide to either lag the market, meet the market, or exceed the market. Our goal at that particular time back in 2018 was to meet the market. We achieved that by adjusting the compensation for our employees who we identified as working below the labor market. We also adjusted the entry-level compensation for those identified classification. The implementation cost was a little bit over $1 million, and 483 employees were impacted, and it was implemented on January 1st, 2019. Phase 2 of the compensation study, we are looking to identify compression that is within our compensation system. The methodology that we have used to achieve this is to review each classification with a focus on the employee's service dates and salary deviations within that particular classification. Compression in a compensation system does not develop. It develops over time. It's not something that just happens. It does take time. It takes time for compression to be identified. Some of the factors that lead to this is no movement within the compensation system, as well as ineffective pay practices for performance. I would like to say that we do have an excellent performance evaluation plan here at Clayton County, but when we try to deviate from that particular practice, it can create compression within the system. You'll also notice compression when there is little pay difference despite the tenure, the knowledge, skill, and abilities, as well as the performance that may be within the system. One of the most common identifiers is new hires earning more or about the same as our tenured employees. To give you an example of some of the things that we are seeing in the compensation system in regards to compensation is regard to compression is we have 2 administrative secretaries, and this is just little snippets of what we're seeing in the system. Between these secretaries, you have a deviation of 12 years, and the deviation in compensation is only $3,602. Animal control officer, deviation 9 years, the deviation in tenure, deviation in compensation a little bit, well, close to $3,000, $2,943. Case manager, 2007, 2010, there's a 10-year deviation there, but only a $945 difference in their salary. I wanted that one to stand out because we're going to look at that one up close and personal in just a moment. Code enforcement officer, deviation 6 years. However, the deviation in compensation is $3,635. Lastly, as an example, is a police officer, deviation 5 years. Deviation in the compensation is only $2,456. Movement within the compensation system, what is here on the slide provides a classic example of compression, especially when there has been little to no movement in the system. We can look at employee A and employee B. As you can see, both of their date of hire is 9/11/7. Well, let me back up. Date of hire 9/11/17 for employee A. Date of hire 8/27/07 for employee B. What I'm alluding to is that they both have the exact salary. They're both at this point, both at grade 16, step 1. The MAG study was completed, as I said, in 2018, implemented in 2019. As you can see here, both employees received a rate increase due to the MAG study, and that brought their compensation from 16.1 to 16.4. Here's where the differences began. Employee A, who has been here 17 years, received a 5% merit increase in 2019 that brought her compensation up to 16.8. Employee B also received a merit increase in 2019, but her merit increase was 3.75%, which brought hers up to 16.7. 2020, employee A received a 2.5% merit increase, whereas employee B received a 1.25. So currently, employee A is at 16.10 and employee B is at 16.8. It could be argued that performance, that maybe employee A is outperforming employee B, and that could be the issue. However, had there been previous movement within the system, what you're looking at here would be slightly different. So I want to say that our compression within our compensation system is definitely rooted in the fact that during a span of time, there was very little movement within our compensation system. My hat goes off to the board, because the board has consistently ensured movement within the system by cost of living increases, as well as merit increases, as well as the compensation study that was done in 2018. But there was a period of time, and I know employees who have been here for a long time, like the chairman, remembers when, years, we're talking years went by when there was no movement within the system, and my previous example supports that. The strategy for phase 2 is tenured based using significant milestones to guide allocation of resources. Employees employed less than 7 years is not included in phase 2 of the compensation study. So on the slide, you see the allocation strategy. We're looking at 25 plus years of service. I'm presenting option A and option B for the board's consideration. Under option A, there's a 3.75% increase for those with 25 or more years of service. Option B would be 5%. And you can see the other allocations there, 15 to 24 and 7 to 14. The next slide shares data in regards to, I've gotten a little bit ahead of myself. Let me do this first. I want to talk about the significance of the milestones. We use 25 years because that's when your normal retirement begin. Of course, that's age defined per our plan document. 15 years as a starting point, because at this point the employee has earned post-employment benefits rights per our planned year, and 7 years because vesting rights have been earned. Now, we did change the vesting schedule in 2016 to 10 years, but all the employees included in phase 2, they have already earned their vesting rights. The next slide shares data in regards to cost by tenure. If you look at the slide, you'll see that we have 25, and I kind of as I was working on this, I kind of looked at it from the red zone to the blue zone to the green zone, just to keep everything in order. But those who have been here 25 plus years, they're in the red zone, and you can see that there are 47 employees impacted. Option A for them, the total cost is $139,268. Option B, $179,986. Tenure 15 to 24, the blue zone, we have 234 employees impacted. 372,000 option A, 557,000 option B. And lastly, the green zone, we have employees 7 to 14 years, 511 employees included there. Option 1 over 357,000, option B over 715,000. The total cost for option A is $868,830. Option B, you have $1.4 million. If you look at the charts, you can see that the majority of cost for option A is directed to the blue zone at $372,000. The majority of the cost for option B is directed to the green zone at $715,000 of the overall $1.4 million. Interestingly, when you look at it for the cost per employee per category, you have the red zone actually leading, because the cost per employee per the category for the red zone is almost $3,000. For the blue zone, it's a little bit over $1,500, and then the green is $451. The next two slides will highlight allocations for the top 5 departments for option A. The police department, fire, sheriff, T&D, as well as the district attorney are the top 5 departments as it relates to allocations. The police department, $201,000 at 23%. fire, $144,000 at 17%, sheriff, $51,000 at 6%, T&D, $46,000, 5%, DA, $45,000, which also comes into 5%. On the next slide, you will see the allocations for the top 5 departments for option B, and it pretty much plays out the same except for the DA is removed and IT. IT is one of the top 5. So for the police department, option B, we're talking $330,537, fire $240,415, sheriff $90,272, T&D $73,083, and IT $72,342. I provided a document to the board. I put it in your boxes, or your mailboxes, and I also sent over an electronic copy for you to review at your convenience as well. And I just wanted to take this moment to kind of share with you the setup of the document, so you'll won't have to try to figure out so much what you're looking at. Up here on the slide, you will see how the document is laid out. You will have a section for each department, the employee's name, their service date. You'll see their current grade and step. You'll see column A and column B that represents the increase that that particular employee will receive. And then you also see where we have applied the increases to come up with a salary for option A and option B for the employees if the request is approved. Also, you'll see at the bottom in the little gold box, you'll just see the total cost. We have it laid out per category. As you can see on this particular team, there are no employees who have more than who have 25 years or more. We just have the blue and the green categories there. You'll also see a summary there. It will tell you the total number of employees that's in that department, the number that's impacted, the percentage of the employees who are impacted, as well as the cost. And finally, what I wanted to provide to the board, and you can go to the next slide for me, Jamie, thank you so much. What you'll also see included in your document, I wanted to provide a picture to the board of the tenure for that particular department. So what you're looking at here goes with the previous slide. There are no employees in this team, once again, with 25 years or more. You have 2 employees in the green tier, which is 15 to 24 years. You have 5 employees in the green, with 2 employees in blue, 15 to 24. You have 5 employees in green, 7 to 14. And the black column represents the employees who are not impacted. These are the employees who have less than 7 years. So what that's telling us is that for this particular team, 82% of the population has less than 7 years. And we can look at the data, and if any of the commissioners want to see the data presented by other categories, please let me know. We can, drill down a little deeper and share that information with the commissioners if you all need additional information.
So my question is, what would your recommended start date for this phase 2 be? Is this budgetary, during the budgetary process, or something that we would need to do sooner or later?
An honest opinion, Chairman, is I have not had a conversation with the CFO in regards to that. So in regards to a start date, I wouldn't even begin to recommend anything until I've talked to Ramona and to my COO as well.
Yeah, because you got to have financing or funding source, and then it has to be sustainable, because this is new money we're talking about.
Yes,
Our employees are our most valuable assets, and we need to get this right. But we also got to do it on a time frame where we can make sure it is sustainable.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions for Ms. Ambles?
And Chairman, the purpose of tonight was just to show the board the direction that we have been moving in. Of course, we weren't expecting to make a recommendation or anything like that tonight. I just wanted to provide some information to the board, and I hope that what I've provided have been informative.
Yeah, so it sounds like next step would be getting with CO and CFO to talk about possible funding sources and whether or not we can sustain it. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the presentation.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Ambles? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir, you're welcome. Thank you, commissioners.
All right, next up we have Office of Economic Development, Ms. Rocker Wills.
Excuse me.
Okay, the PowerPoint.
Good evening, Chairman Turner and Board of Commissioners. I am delighted to present to you an economic development update for Clayton County this evening. I will start by saying it is a great day to be in economic development, not only with what we've experienced locally and even on a national level with the pandemic, but in Clayton County. It's a great day, and I hope that as I go through this presentation, you and the commissioners will hear just how situated we are for our position to receive projects and to be fertile soil for good growth and development. So I'll start. Thank you for the assistance of your office with relocating our economic development office. We are now at 2270 Mount Zion Road. We are housed with the Chamber of Commerce, and we are working hand in hand as the Chamber is handling giving our businesses a platform for engagement and being involved locally. And my office, of course, entertaining projects and prospects and talking to our existing industry for those who want to grow here. Next slide. Just some notes on the role of the Economic Development Office. I don't take it for granted that everybody knows what it is that we do, but we are here to serve not only site selectors and those scouting Georgia and Clayton County, but we're here to serve our local constituency, your constituents that may want to grow or open a business. So project management, site selection, which just simply involves taking the parameters somebody's given us and telling them where in the county we see that development as an option to fit. We get analytics and industry trends calls all the time. We do track those. We have great partnerships through the Metro Atlanta Chamber and Georgia Power that we can call for some in-depth analytics. So if any of you get those tough questions and want to know about that, please reach out to my office and we can assist with it. Business advocacy. That involves, of course, everything from advocating for a certain type of industry or development that we don't see yet. Grants during this pandemic, business relief, that all falls under there. Business recruitment and attraction, which is just one of the core definitions of an economic development office. Retention, marketing, strategic partnership engagement, and then prospect tours. That because we are back open for business, we are getting calls where our industrial brokers or other brokers want to meet on a site and have a conversation about what their vision is for that site and what they'd like to put there. So that is the role of our office. Some of our membership organizations that come out of the budget for the department that are paid for every year, we're members of the Airport Chamber of Commerce, Aerotropolis Alliance, the Atlanta Regional Marketing Alliance, which I can't say enough about that organization. I'll just make a footnote there. It consists of your economic development officers for all of the 10 county region jurisdictions, and it's a very collaborative environment. We pay a fee to be a member there, and we get great advantages from that. Even today, before I came here, we had our site selectors consultant event. And each of us got FaceTime with site selectors that actually represent projects and national companies that are looking in the Southeast, that are looking in our region for various projects, from industrial to office to incentive reevaluation, et cetera. So it's a very viable organization to be a member of. So we get a lot of yardage out of that. The Metro Atlanta Chamber, Clayton Chamber, of course, and then the International Economic Development Council, and then the Georgia Economic Development Association. A few project updates that are going on. I categorize these as internal because they're induced within county government. They really didn't come from the outside necessarily, but it took our work to work on these. I-75 exit 233, about a year ago, I had met with the mall manager at South Lake, and she talked about how the trees obscure the mall from the interstate traffic, and how difficult that is. They would like to invest in new signage, but you just can't see the mall traveling 75 south. And so reaching out to Georgia Department of Transportation, their response was they do not do landscaping or pruning just for the sake of it. A tree would have to be dead, and so that's not a huge priority for them. So falling on deaf ears, we went about 12 months, but finally I'm glad to report that through work with the city of Morrow, they have been given a permit to do the tree pruning that will not obscure South Lake Mall. So that's an example of our office being a conduit. It's not really our issue, but we're called on to help get things like that solved. And so that one I'm excited to see that hopefully that'll help the mall continue its upward spiral of getting gross sales receipts. The 727 Airline Museum Highway property, that is a very unique 9-acre parcel that the county owns. And so we have all been in recent discussions about where to go next with that. There's a myriad of proposals of outsiders who wish to buy it, but the county also is sitting in the seat that it can evaluate how it best wants to use that land. 5711 Jonesboro Road, you recently did the transaction on that one for the MOU adoption or execution, so that's very exciting. That's that 26 acres next to the Development Authority and owned by the Development Authority. The Clayton County Public Schools Arena Project. We were asked and engaged over 12 months ago to help them find sites. We picked 8 sites. We toured the county. We went back. We came again to the drawing board, and it's exciting that it looks like they have honed in on a site, and that will be some good news forthcoming. The Airport West CID, we're already members of the CID, but they are looking to expand it. Forest Park reached out to them to include part of their jurisdiction, and so they invited the county because some of the parcels are literally right across the street from the Forest Park parcels. So we're talking upper Old Dixie Highway and Forest Parkway on that side where Zesto's is, on that side of the street. So it's easier to expand rather than start a new CID. So that is in the works, and all the admin cost on that is being paid for by the city of Forest Park. Airport property development, ongoing conversations with that. As you know, the airport is looking to do an RFP for all of the parcels that are on the outliers of the airport, and many of those are in Clayton County, which we'll talk about on our tour on Thursday. But most urgently, 3 of the Clayton County parcels are going up for bid for development in April. These will be they're owned by the airport, they're in Clayton County. And so they are not selling any of the parcels. They are doing a 100-year lease, and on those, they're seeking a proposal from a developer to give them the best deal. I am working on that relationship with them because currently we are not invited to evaluate those bids because we're not the owners of the property. They are in our jurisdiction, but they have our zoning requirements. They have our wishes of what we'd like to see there, and so I'll keep you abreast of that. And then lastly, the Economic Development Strategic Plan update, which is underway. We're about 70% complete. Our committees are meeting. We just had a committee retreat about 2 weeks ago, and we look forward to giving you a good document that basically the purpose of doing the exercise was to show us how to maximize what we have here in Clayton County in terms of growing our economic development portfolio. The last project plan was done in 2013, so it's high time for another one. Next slide. The external projects, I won't go through every jot and tittle of these, but this just goes to show you how busy we are and how known we are through Georgia Power project managers, through state project managers. And this is really big. For a long time, when I first came on board, I heard that, you know, Clayton County was not represented at the table, or they didn't get its fair, we weren't getting our fair share of looks when national and international companies were shopping the region. Well, those days are gone, and here are the projects that we are currently, that I've been contacted for by a state project manager and had to issue an offer letter stating, yes, we have a site, yes, here's the answer to all of your questions on water, on power, on our incentive portfolio. And so they are in code names because that is the way the state does it until it's time to announce it, because it's very competitive in the region. I did highlight a few in purple that we are finalists for, meaning we gave them the initial letter and we were in competition with many communities around the state, and we are now in the final 3. And so that just goes to show you the amount of investment and jobs that are on the way. The 2 at the bottom, which you're familiar with, have landed and are here. Okay, next slide. Just some areas of focus for our department in recruitment. I think, we got the industrial cluster pretty well handled, but we are a logistics hub, so they'll keep coming. But I think on the recruitment side, we should focus on retail and mixed-use centers, something that complements our neighborhoods and our workforce here, so there's something to do after work or places to go and meet in the midday. Data centers, which are huge. I heard that on my site selector call today that, he said I get about 5 calls a week with data center requests. Find me a site. Here's what we're looking for. The thing with data centers is they run a very high power bill. So there's a bill in the House right now that they're working over to exclude them from sales tax on the power. So that's tricky, but we're looking for that because that'll diversify our portfolio a little bit and give us that office market. FinTech, which are your financial tech companies, about 80% of all the FinTech companies are located in the metro area. They're just on that Georgia 400 corridor through Alpharetta. And we can recruit some of that this way. Call centers are big now, especially with the pandemic, more working from home, more people, more companies having to field their customer service through calls and not face-to-face interactions. There's a demand for that, and we have that visible even in the growth, but we could recruit more. More in the office market, and then green development, which involves your aquaponics, it involves medical cannabis, some of the calls that we are getting now that deal with this green development wave of the health and wellness and growing herbs or plants for food and consumption. On the retention side, we of course want to work to retain our industrial clusters, our industrial stance in the marketplace. We are an employment center here in Clayton. We want to retain our major employers and partner with the Clayton Chamber on company visits. I think that's going to be great and key. It'll help them grow, but it'll also handle that retention side that companies can see that they are wanted here. New partnerships, we hope to really, not hope to, but plan to engage more. They are powerhouses, and that's our Housing Authority and our HUD office. There's a lot we can do with the Housing Authority of Clayton County with regards to economic development, and there's funding, there's monies that they can apply for, there's redevelopment that we can do that will involve some residential areas, and if it does, we can engage the Housing Authority of Clayton County to be a huge partner in that, to make that transition easy and promote some home ownership. Same with the HUD office. And then workforce development, our Development Authority of Clayton County is handling that side of it, which is awesome and needed, especially in terms of helping our major employers advertise hiring that they're doing, working with Aerotropolis on some virtual hiring fairs that they're already doing. So it's great that we have these partners, but that has to be an area that has to be addressed. And workforce development, it's good that we have somebody assigned to actually work on that piece of it for the county. Okay, next slide. Few areas of concern. Our lead industry sects being aviation, cargo, food distribution, logistics, warehouse, and distribution. The question, though, is how long will industrial thrive? Anytime you are lopsided or have the bulk of your economic base coming from one kind of industry, you are at risk. What if it comes a day when that's not as popular of a thing? You know, I heard a recent presentation on how long will industrial thrive, and the question was asked, as soon as people can get 3D printers and print everything they need at their own house, you're going to stop seeing so many things being made. I think we are far off from that, but I just want to say it's always good to be forward thinking on diversifying the type of economic development we have here in Clayton County, which is why I put those other things on that recruitment list in terms of retail and others. We need to add more dense developments and increase our value per acre index. That's what we want to raise. I added this screen here, which I call the big three. For Clayton County, the airport, Clayton State University, and Southern Regional Medical Center are three major economic engines. I mean, counties are very fortunate to have one of these in their county. We have three, and I think that our goal should be to maximize how can we get the most return out of these huge economic engines of an airport, a university, and a hospital in our own county. If you go to the next slide, just a little bit about what economic impact is. It's basically the direct expenditures of a company plus those direct and induced impacts they have. And that is how we determine this thing called the economic impact. What is the dollar amount of having that presence here in your community? Next slide. So just this one I pulled statewide from the impact of the airport. They employ about 383,000 people. They have a payroll of $16 billion, total spending $50 billion, and their economic activity $66 billion, and total state and local tax revenue income that they're getting is over $1 billion. That's staggering. How does Clayton benefit from that? And how do we lose from that? Or what should we be asking for that? And so it's good that the county is forward thinking and already looking at some airport impact issues, but I wanted you to have this slide to just see the dollars that are flowing through this great county. Next slide. For Clayton State, economic impact, as you see, around $200 million spent in 2020. They're an employer of about 2,600 employees there. But look at the value added impact of about $200 million. How can we maximize on having a university in our county? What should we be doing? What can we do? And how best should we engage that stakeholder here that has professors and some higher income people who can influence how things are done here in this county? Next slide. Under still area of focus, Terra Boulevard and Old Dixie Highway corridor and the Mountain View area. As you know, we will be doing that tour of Mountain View on Thursday. Look forward to talking with all of you on that. But Terra Boulevard and Old Dixie, definitely that is the gateway to the county. We've ridden through there. It's our federal opportunity zone. We've highlighted buildings. We've looked at, there's a study afoot. I don't think it was ever adopted by the Board of Commissioners, but that will be a focus for this department to make some major change in that huge gateway. And I rode that district with Commissioner Davis not too long ago, and I want to schedule that same drive with each commissioner in your various jurisdictions to hear your voice and your thinking on key areas of your district. Some data and analytics that I use when pitching Clayton County. It's important for you to know. You know all this anyway, but if you're having coffee or tea with someone and you want to talk about your great county, here's some food for thought. Clayton County is a young county. Our median age is 32. We got about 64,000 millennials and 57,000 people entering almost that retiring age. So as such, we're a spot for good businesses for retirees, you know, who, what amenities could cater to that industry set. We are an employment center. I tell everybody, I am proud of our industrial heritage. We have the jobs here, 126,000 jobs here in the county, and average earning of $70,000 per job. We're number 6 in the state for jobs. Next slide. A couple of these. This just kind of goes to show, you know, one of the things we can brag about. We don't have the traffic congestion you see in other parts of the metro area. You have about 75,000 people employed in Clayton but live outside. So those are those people driving into Clayton County to work every day. 23,000 people live here and work here, so they have a short commute. And then about 77,000 of our citizens leave Clayton County every day to go work somewhere in the metro area. Some of our largest industries here are highlighted for you. And this is from the U.S. Bureau Census and from our Esri software. Okay. Quality of life, I always tout that. I had to tout that today in my interviews with 8 site selectors. It was like speed dating, but we had 6 minutes to pitch our county and what's so good about it. Yes, we talked about industry, but we also had to talk about quality of life. And so it's good to know our cost of living is 17% lower than the national average, which makes your hard-earned dollars go further in Clayton County than they would somewhere else. We're a smart real estate investment. And as you see there in Clayton, you know, those numbers are favor better than the rest of Georgia and the U.S. out of $100. And some fast facts on our demographics. You may be familiar with some of this, but we're a great asset for businesses and industries who want to hire residents or attract potential new employees. We are 53% female. We have we saw that even in the grant we just did. We have a lot of women-owned businesses, even in the small business sector. Our median age, as I mentioned, is 32, and our population grew by 11% from 2010 to 2018. That's tremendous. Projected population by 2040 is 327,000. So more than 21% of our residents have a bachelor's degree. That's a statistic we may want to raise with Clayton State on something engaging our local residents. Next slide. In terms of workforce, this is just one I like to put in here. About 86% of our residents have completed high school, 32% have some college. And again, that 21% actually having completed. But the top 10 technical college certificates are highlighted for you there. Business administration topping it out. But that's demand across the country that's showing. That's from the Georgia Department of Labor. But this is for Clayton County. Next slide. Our drive times, these are things that I pitch when I'm talking to prospects, that we are 2 days drive from 80% of the nation's population, or we're 2 hours flight from them. That makes us good for those transportation and shipping or distribution companies when they have to load those trucks and get them out. As you see from the map, they can reach 80% of the population of the nation is within a 2-day truck drive from Clayton County. Next. The other economic engine, the Port of Savannah, we talk about that a lot in my conversations with prospects. We don't talk about this enough. I just heard that second to the airport, they are the largest economic engine in the state, and that is the Port of Savannah. We are 253 miles from the Port of Savannah. Some of our largest top exporters in the county are Toto, Sanofi Aventis, Delta Airlines, Vanguard, and Kintetsu World Express. This is huge and this is important because with the exporting business being what it is, and then with our citizens and the world getting their imports, we have the largest container port in the Western Hemisphere located in the Port of Savannah. I put this map of the Southeast there because the Southeast population growth now from versus 2010 till now has gone up 5.9 million people versus the Northeast has grown by 1.9 million people. So they have highlighted here that this is from the Georgia Port Authority, that the Southeast population is the fastest growing in the United States out of all regions. And so we're going to be impacted by that, either residentially, business-wise, tax-based. How do we grasp that? So that's a container vessel there in your view, but it's par for the course in the Port of Savannah. Next slide. And I'm just reiterating the Garden City Terminal, that is the city of Savannah, and that is the largest container vessel in the world. It is registered in Brazil, but it is a frequent visitor to Savannah because the port can accommodate it, and goods and services go up the eastern seaboard and passing through Clayton, if not stopping through Clayton. So in the end, I'll end with our tagline from our branding initiative that you supported within the last year. Clayton County is where the world lands and opportunities take off. These are some of our major stakeholders and employers here in the county. Thank you. And are there any questions? Let me say one more thing from a legislative standpoint. I just want to add, I just heard this on our call today. There's a new tax credit that it has added called the Georgia Medical Equipment Manufacturing Tax Credit. So for companies that will produce PPE or any other medical equipment, there will be a tax credit just for them. And so that's going to be a plus as we look at how we maximize some of those areas and vacant buildings around Southern Regional Medical Center. There may be some opportunity there. And then also tracking another bill called the Women-Owned Business Tax Credit. It's currently being worked on. It will be House Bill number 6. So it basically provides an income tax credit for investors in women-owned businesses. So these are some new initiatives from a tax credit situation that we'll be able to tout and add to our list of incentives that are available when people ask. I do believe I'd like to come before you in a work session item where we can look at revising some of our incentives anyway to address existing industry, not just newcomers, and then something for the small business market. And that's all I have. Any questions for me?
Thank you for your comprehensive report. Are there any questions for Ms. Rocker Wills?
This is Hambrick, and it's not a question, it's more food for thought.
Yes, ma'am.
When it was mentioning about our branding and marketing, I know we got an email a couple of days back, or maybe a week or so ago, about how we're going to be advertising and with the signs and all put up around the metro area. And one of the mentionings was advertising inside the airport. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm wondering, how much are we paying for that? Are we getting that free since they do sit inside Clayton County? Or and that can be something we can discuss further. Or it can be brought to us at some other time. But I just want us to think about that. You know, I don't want us, you know, spending a whole lot of that because I'm not sure how good the working relationship is right now. Hopefully it will get better with them. And also the other food for thought is that concessionaires bill that was passed against us years ago. Is anybody working on that now, or can we possibly get some kind of traction with that thing? Because, you know, we had started really getting quite a bit of income from that. So, but anyway, just food for thought. Don't need any answers right now, but you all just think about it, and maybe we can discuss it in executive session or something. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah, just a quick response. Yes, we are working on all of those and then some, but appreciate your statement. Any other questions for Ms. Rocker Wills?
Mr. Chair, I have comments, please, sir.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to thank Ms. Rocker Wills for her presentation. Very, very, very good, because it's so much, you know, that our citizens are asking us as Board of Commissioner members, and, you know, we are not economic developers. And so that information is so good, and I can hardly wait for you to get your staff up so you can get, you know, some more presence with us in the community, because this is what our community is asking for. They want to know, what are we doing? And also, you know, you hit on so many areas in the county. One of the things that has been on my mind lately, and I know we've got this, I'm going to say it's a political thing now. We've got this political thing of people are against what they label as warehouses, but we call them logistics and e-commerce. You know, yesterday I washed my bathroom rug, it shredded up, right? I went on Amazon or got it today. We all want that, but we don't want anything, any inconveniences and so forth. And these are not like their old steel smokestack warehouses. You know, we've placed a lot of efforts in the zoning codes of the design, the landscaping, and they look good to the community. And so I think if we all, with one voice, can tout the benefits that these facilities have brought to our county, whether revenue and any other ways financially, to help us. It's just that our houses, you know, when if you're paying $1,500, you know, dollars taxes on your houses, you're not paying anywhere near where we're getting from these business centers. And plus we're employing people with benefits instead of just having a Ross or Target to say you have one where people work 4 hours a day, they go home and no health care and so forth. So these are benefits to us, and they fit the needs of so many of our citizens that we have now. And so I think it would be great for the community if we're all talking, you know, collectively, how all of these industries are benefiting us.
And to help in that respect, please forward us your presentation so we can continue to share that information.
Yeah, let me say this. This is Hamburg, and just a point of what Commissioner Gregory was saying. I go home from time to time, Henry County, McDonald. And if I don't want to get on the expressway, I want to go down what they call 42 Highway. And I'm telling you, they have so much of what some people up here complain about with that industry and e-commerce. And I mean, it's just the whole strip of miles of that. And they're still building and they're still breaking ground. And I'm thinking, no, this is a wonderful thing. And they're getting money. You know, I'm sure their residents are not going to have to pay as much, you know, tax house, you know, and all residents and all, but it'll be business taxes that are coming in. And I do think that's a really great thing and all. And it does help with the county's economy.
Yes, ma'am, it does, and thank you. I will definitely make sure you have a copy of the presentation. I did forward it as an attachment, but I'll make sure you get that.
I just want to make sure that we got it because there was a lot of good information in there. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Rocker Wills?
Great presentation. This is what we needed.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Warden. Let's talk about code enforcement update.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to get up here and talk a little bit about code enforcement, the new code enforcement division. You go to the next slide there. That's our mission statement. We're going to maybe look at that, see if we can trim it down a little bit, but we want to deliver exceptional service while enforcing and upholding Clayton County codes and ordinances established or adopted to protect public health, safety, welfare, and to enhance the overall quality of life for all residents, business owners, and visitors, and to conduct a comprehensive code enforcement effort that promotes voluntary compliance, affects prompt correction of noted violations, and that is consistent, fair, and unbiased in its application. A quick timeline of events, and it has gone very quick. Chief Roberts with the Police Department, Director Ejiki at Community Development, and myself met to discuss the consolidation of corrections, or consolidation of the residential and commercial code enforcement functions. The Corrections Department was chosen for the consolidation. On August the 3rd, a plan was drafted by me and sent to the COO. The plan included the transfer of all 35 residential code enforcement staff and 4 of the 7 commercial code enforcement officers. Director Ejiki wanted to keep 3 of the officers for business license enforcement. On August the 4th, the Board of Commissioners approved the plan. August 13th, we acquired the building that IT vacated at 1285 Government Circle and used inmate labor to renovate the building, at least the portion that we moved into. Next. September 28th, a corrections commander was chosen to lead the new division and to facilitate the transition and training of all of the personnel. And on October the 9th, renovation was completed on our side of the 1285 Government Circle building. The other portion of it is still being used by elections, and at some point they will be clearing their staff out, and we'll be able to finish that building. October 12th, the lieutenants were selected for the new division and began transition training with the police department commanders. It's a little bit of a learning curve for corrections to learn code enforcement, but we picked the right staff members to do the job. November 9th was the first official day of duty for all newly transferred code enforcement officers under the Corrections Department. And as of this month, there are 13 residential code enforcement officers remaining at the Flicker Road location because elections is still occupying their side of 1285 Government Circle. Here's our command staff. I didn't have to look far for somebody to lead this division who actually wanted to lead the division too. Captain McDonald is no stranger to the county and to the other departments. He has a very good working relationship with all of the county directors and county departments. He was very familiar with code enforcement. He previously led the refuse control division. Our 2 lieutenants, Lieutenant Brown and Lieutenant Hunter, come from a corrections background. They have decades of service in that field, and so there was a little bit of a learning curve for them, but they adjusted very, very well. And Lieutenant Brown is overseeing one district and Lieutenant Hunter the other. Here's our activity up to date from November 9th to February 23rd today. 15,647 inspections. 4,010 notice of violations served. And notice of violations are not citations. It's making the homeowner or business owner aware that there is a problem, that there does need to be a correction to it. And typically they have about 5 days to correct the issue. And if it's not corrected, then we move in with a citation. They issued 90 citations. So you can see it's just a very small portion. We try our best to get voluntary compliance, and that's consistent in our mission statement. Illegal signs pulled, 4,352. Now granted, a lot of those are election signs that were left over after the elections, and we had an extended election season, so we had a lot of signs out there. But these are also the sell your house, you know, we buy junk cars, and everything else that's out here littering the right-of-ways in the county. They've conducted 7 commercial blitzes and 32 residential blitzes. Previously, I think the blitzes were occurring about once a month. We try to occur have blitzes occur at least once a week. And by blitzes, that means we focus intensely on a particular area, and we'll bring in multiple staff members, multiple code enforcement officers to concentrate on that and get it taken care of. Here's some of our case highlights. Code enforcement hit all 27 stores, dollar stores, not just Dollar General or Dollar Tree. It's everything, every dollar store. This is some of the pictures. I have them take photographs before and after of what it looked like. Here's what it looks like just a few days later. And we've had remarkable compliance with these stores. They do want to stay in business. And you know, a lot of the dumping was not beyond their control, but it wasn't them that were doing the dumping. And so you know, people take advantage of the dumpster and they'll dump mattresses and everything else there, but it's the dollar store's responsibility to clear it. So we encourage that they have the fences and make sure that they protect it. Here's another case highlight. We're still working on Fairwoods Apartments. This is what it looked like the first time I saw it. This is what it looks like now, but we're still a long, long way from getting them back into shape. Next slide, please. It's been neglected for many, many, many years, and much of the complex is in a deplorable and unsafe condition. So in response to citizens' complaints, we've taken a very aggressive approach to correcting it. One of the main issues we had, swimming pool, was 8 feet of water, swamp water. I mean, it was just black with trash and everything else. So they drained it. They're in the process of getting it closed off. That's a safety issue. All the excessive debris and trash picked up and removed, the junk cars removed, the overgrown weeds, grass, and shrubs, you can see they were cut and trimmed. We have spoken with random residents about the conditions inside the apartments, and we've met with the new owner and relayed our expectations to address the concerns and conditions. We do have a meeting coming up with the owner and community development next week. Some of the outstanding issues, the business has continued to operate for 2 years without a current business license. The business has continued to operate for 2 years without paying property taxes. These are all things that you know, we're aware of, and the tax commissioner's aware of. And the burned out building's currently tied up in litigation. As soon as that gets cleared, and of course that's COVID related because the court's being closed, we should be able to move forward with getting them to demolish that building. Is it inhabitable? January 26th, code enforcement had a meeting scheduled with the property owner at Terre Woods, but he didn't show. It was rescheduled for January 28th. He failed to show again. Captain McDonald and his officers began walking the property and were invited into some of the open units by some of the contractors doing remodeling. And upon inspecting some of the units, they found numerous issues that were not being corrected properly and per code. It led to us contacting Director Ajiki. I called him. He sent a team out, and his code inspectors found out the property owner did not have any permits for the demolishing, electrical, plumbing, or HVAC work. So we posted stop work orders in all the units, and that's the owner did show up shortly after that action, and he was issued at least 7 citations from community development and 1 from code enforcement. There are people currently living in the apartments, and they're not afraid to talk. You know, it's like a slum, and we're trying our best to help them. And hopefully we'll be able to make some progress with the new owner. I put that comment, it's a very long way from coming back into safe and sanitary condition. We don't feel very optimistic it's going to be done in any time soon, but our officers have forced them to make tremendous progress in cleaning up the area and certainly taking care of the swimming pool. Here's a case highlight that Commissioner Davis is very familiar with. This is the former Clarion Atlanta Airport Hotel. This was taken on Friday, January 15th, 2021. This is in that area that Erica just talked about that want to attract businesses. You can see the second picture, if you go back, the second picture on the left. Can you go back one? That's a swimming pool, and you can see all the trash in there. Mountains and mountains of trash. The owner is very, very cooperative with us. He said he would take care of it, and the next slide is 3 days later. This is over the Martin Luther King holiday. You can see the progress that he made. The dumping is gone. He put up a gate, a real gate, instead of just a chain. The swimming pool is down the bottom left. It's filled in. He was very helpful with getting things taken care of, and remarkably, in just 3 days over a weekend that he did all this. And then he allowed the SWAT team to come in and kind of practice going through the building to make sure it was cleared of homeless. And they did encounter one individual, and the individual actually had a gun, but he had a sign on the door that said, you know, that he was the owner, go away, and only police were allowed. So they got along with him okay, but he knew the day was coming that he was going to have to move, and he even told us that he had, or he told the SWAT team that he had saved up money and that he had enough to go to stay in a hotel for a couple of months. So hopefully he'll get on the right track. But that one gate right there makes a huge difference, because now it's going to cause some damage if they try to go through that. And the owner gave us a combination, and the police department has a combination, fire department too, so we can go in there and do frequent inspections to make sure nobody's tearing it up again. Mobile homes. There are several mobile home parks in Clayton County, and a lot of them are not adhering to the codes, and so you can see some of the trash and some of the conditions. Vehicles run down, mattresses laying everywhere, and code enforcement's on it. 192 inspections. This is all since we took over. 66 notice of violations issued, but only one citation, and that's indicative of a blitz. When you see a whole bunch of trucks come in there with the lights on, and they attack it right away, and they get that whole mobile home park taken care of in a matter of hours. So this is not the only mobile home park. They've done many of them around the county. This is one they just did February the 18th, 525 Museum Circle, mobile home park blitz. You can see the condition. 100 mobile homes inspected, notice of violations issued 10. So here's another one that started getting citizen complaints on: street vendors and food trucks. These are some of the photos that were provided by citizens. A lot of them were sent to me, and what would happen is after 5 o'clock on Friday, the tents go up, the food trucks come out, and they work all weekend. Well, there's nobody working on Saturday, code enforcement. Well, that's changed. The next picture are some of the photographs that our officers took, actually out there telling people to pack up and move on. Next slide. We received numerous complaints. We worked a couple weeks on Saturdays. We've since added Saturdays now, so we have a team. None of the street vendors were licensed, none had health department certificates to serve food, and none were paying county taxes for what they were selling. They all received notice of violations, were told if they return they'll be cited. None of those particular vendors have returned. So again, we now have a small team of officers working Saturday. And then it's not just for this, they're also hitting the residential areas, because that's a lot of times that's where you find the homeowner at home to serve them a notice of violation. What our constituents are saying, I'm not going to read all those, but you can see that's January the 5th and 7th and December. And these are emails that are coming in, not typically to me or Captain McDonald, but actually to the officers that are doing the job. And they have established a relationship with the constituents out here, and they see them out there working. So we appreciate all the comments. We're still getting them in. I just didn't want to inundate you with them. We have more. What's in our immediate future? Training. Almost immediately, Captain McDonald made sure that we started cross-training residential and commercial code enforcement so that everybody can do each other's job, because there are some differences. Judicial, we're going to ask the chief magistrate judge to see if we can allocate a judge, just one judge, to hear just the code enforcement citations instead of multiple courts. We believe that would create more effective and consistent process for all of our cases. We've created a partnership with the community through education awareness. Captain McDonald's working on some information now to educate homeowners and business owners on the most common code violations and gain voluntary compliance through education. And a new home, both commercial and residential code enforcement staff were once spread out over 3 locations, making communication, face-to-face interaction, and just daily passing of information difficult, which is so critical in a public safety environment. We now have 1 headquarters building and 2/3 of the staff already under 1 roof. The remaining 13 will join the others hopefully very soon. We have great staff. They're truly talented, they're energized, they're dedicated to improving the quality of life in Clayton County, and these were good quality people from the police department and commercial, from community development, and we've enjoyed the new relationship that we have, and they see Captain McDonald every day. It's very, very consistent that they see their commander, and he's done a real good job, him and the 2 lieutenants and the supervisors that are assigned in code enforcement. And any questions?
No, sir.
There's
No, I was talking to somebody else, not the board, but I want to say personally, thank you for all that you're doing, or your staff, because they are really, but it comes with good leadership. You and the captain over there, so appreciate all that you're doing, and definitely appreciate the work that your staff is doing.
They're fantastic. Ben mentioned about having Clayton County as a family. I feel the same way, except without the arguments that you normally get with your regular family. So this is a great place. We all get along fine, and it's from department directors on down, and a very, very good working relationship.
It takes all of us working together, so yes, definitely appreciate the comments there. Anybody have any comments?
I just have a comment and a compliment. I know that, hey, I just love that I can just pick up the phone sometimes when I'm riding with my pad and all, and sometimes call you, Warren, but call Captain McDonald, and now I'll start calling Captain Gooden and all. I'm glad that's refreshing and all too. But I also want to thank your majors that tremendous help to us. I know Tina talked with them from time to time, so I really appreciate your staff and all, and definitely including your majors. Okay.
They're all great. I can't be happier with the crew that we have, and we're glad that they're doing such a good job. And thank you for your comments, Commissioner Hamburg.
And again,
thank you all for the job you did. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Davis.
And again, I just want to say thank you, because I've seen you and talked to you and seen you at some of these sites, and your staff is tremendous, but to see you out there with them doing some of this work is just unbelievable. And I truly, truly want to publicly applaud the work you've done. And in District 4, you've come through and just really helped us on that corridor as far as cleaning it up and helping us to try to attract new business in there. I just really, truly, truly want to say thank you, and you're a godsend right now.
Well, again, my staff, my coworkers, they're the best.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, sir. We don't often have times to say this. I know I thank the warden a lot, but you may not see the email and so forth. And even today, as I was out and I was thinking how, wow, this looks really great. The bus stops, I was just watching, just the what you all put in. And I know it's hard because, of course, you got folk riding down the street, throwing out paper and so forth. But you all do such an excellent job, so much that Sunday I took a picture and I forgot to send it to you, but you've already taken care of it. So I really thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gregory. We appreciate the comments and the trust.
Anybody else? Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
All I could say is I wish y'all could see me doing a dance right now. This is an awesome presentation. I am so glad to see efficiency and effectiveness and being able to see an end result relate to us, as the commissioner has already alluded to. We get calls all the time about issues in the community, and I think that now our community can see what's being done and how if we just add a little bit more support to you all, how much more that you can do in such a short period of time. And Warden Nelson, I want to personally thank you, because I know you and I had a phone call over almost 2 years ago on this idea. And to see this idea come to fruition is absolutely phenomenal. I also like the way you ended your presentation with the garbage truck at the end. That was a great creative narrative right there. But I have a question for you.
Yes,
I heard you say earlier about the business license and taxes not being paid. So out of curiosity, help me understand, how did we miss this?
I can't answer that. I know that this meeting Monday, that's probably going to come up from Mr. Ejike on the business license. The history on, I do know the history on the business license portion is they cannot get their business license by the county rules until they pay their property taxes. So then we have an issue with they need to get 2 years of property taxes back paid before they can get their business license. But they are operating a business, and hopefully now with the new owner, we'll be able to get them straightened out and back on the right path.
Well, thank you for that. That is phenomenal. What processes have we put in place to help us to mitigate this so that it does not happen in the future?
Processes for business license, and
That would have to come through Mr. Ejike's shop, Community Development.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll make a note of that. But it sounds like this consolidation effort has worked really well. So maybe as a board, we really need to consider consolidating all code enforcement so that we'll be able to make sure that we're communicating effectively and we don't have a break in communication and we don't have 2 years of unpaid taxes moving forward. The other point I want to say to you is I'm so glad that you brought up the chief magistrate, I guess, initiative, because a lot of people don't understand that is truly the key to our success. You know, if you're going out there and you are citing folks, and then if those fees are then getting, how do you say it, just thrown out, then it kind of brings us back to square one. So the fact that you all are will be working in tandem is going to really bring additional success. So thank you again, and I look forward to your continued work.
thank you, Commissioner Franklin.
And Commissioner Franklin, just to add, all the code enforcement offices are combined together at this time, correct? Or are
Except
we?
for 3 officers out of community development. Director Ejike said he wanted to keep those 3 for business license enforcement only.
Business license.
Business license, yes.
Did you have something, Ms. Seal?
I was gonna, to the Commissioner's point, Chairman, I was gonna reiterate that. Yeah, there are still 3 code enforcement officers under community development. I think the disconnect, Commissioner, and we'll certainly have Mr. GK provide us more context. Once the business license either have expired, there has to be better communication with code enforcement and working with Warden Nelson and his team. So if there's an expired license, then they can go ahead and cite to make sure that business still is not operating. So I know we're still working through some of those kinks, but that is the plan in place that we talked with Director GK as well as Warden Nelson about.
Any other questions, comments? Again, Warden, appreciate all the work that you and your staff are doing to help keep our county clean and make sure that people are being held accountable and businesses are being held accountable. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, any announcements from anybody? If not, we stand adjourned. Have a good evening.